I put my face up there real small on YouTube. I don't know why the hell that happened. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our streaming episode of Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball for Thursday and for Friday. Yes, this is a Hebrew national hat I'm wearing today. It was given to me by a director of food and beverage during my time in minor league baseball because I was the only Jewish person that he knew in Bakersfield. So I am the chosen wiener. Today, we'll be talking about the best pickups for Thursday's schedules, those teams that you want to avoid, and the same thing for Friday for those of you that have to make moves a day in advance. If you got a fab budget or whatever, that's the way we work through it. Please hit that subscribe button. That's how we continue to grow this thing towards the finish line. I want to make sure as we can snowball as many of you as possible so that there's a nice firm foundation going into next year. This has been a really, really awesome experience building out this new network, and that's because of you guys. Hit that like button. Comments are open. I'm on Twitter at Dan Bespris. Let's talk fantasy streaming guide. You guys already seen this part, so let's just advance past that. Let's get into Thursday. Teams to avoid today. Portland is off for 3 days in a row. That's kind of the easy one right now. If you've got a Blazer and you're in any kind of difficult matchup, this is the time to abandon ship. Blazers' schedule is better. After the 3 days off, they have 3 games over 4 nights. They have 4 games over 6 nights. They have 5 games over 8. Like, that's not that special. A lot of teams have 5 over 8. So, you know, if you're worried about getting off to a quick start next week and you really like your Blazers streamer, I kind of understand why you might want to try to hang on to them in that respect. But again, like if you're sitting on a Donovan Clingan and boards or blocks are in okay shape, or if you're sitting on a Scoot Henderson and, you know, steals or assists or whatever, those are also in pretty good shape. Those are guys you'd move off of. Same story for Tumani Kamara, who I do like a lot. I like all these guys, and I'd like to try to hold them, and I will in Games Cap spot, but that's not what this show is about. This is not a Games Cap episode. This is for head-to-head playoff streaming only, and for 3 days off, you can do a lot of damage there, turning a 1-game week into a 3-game remainder of this week. The other bad schedule, the rest of this one, is New York. They're off for 2 days, then they're on Saturday. The reason that you would stay on a Blazer or a New York Knicks is if any of if your 3-game options suck. Basically, like if everybody on the Lakers is already scooped up and the Nets are already pre-scooped because of their 5-7 earlier this week, and the Orlando Magic, who we're going to talk about in a second, if all these guys are already added, then that's when you'd sit on these guys. Or certainly through New York, like you could sit on them through Saturday and then make your move on Sunday, because then if you don't like the 3-game options, you're only getting 1 extra game the rest of this week. Now, for Portland, you probably still make the move earlier, but you don't have to do it today. You could do it tomorrow when there are a crap ton of additional teams that you can pick from. Same general story with New York, or you could just hold through Sunday if you're looking at a Nick that you don't want to drop. Like a Miles McBride would be the perfect example. He's playing really well right now, replacing Jalen Brunson. Maybe you want to try to squeeze one more game out of him this week before you move on, or you just tough it out. That's the case with all this stuff. Teams to target here on Thursday. The Lakers have the best schedule in the history of man. That one's an easy one. So start Lakers because they play 6 times over 8 days right now. Their team's going to be bent and broken by the end of all of these, and someone's going to get a day off in there. Maybe everybody's going to get a day off. But that still gives you an opportunity for a 5-7. Like if they took off one of the first 5 out of those. If they skip the very last one, then you get 5 out of 8 and you held on a day too long, but you'll find out because the news will break. Brooklyn, obviously the tail end of their 5-7. They have 3-4 and 4 out of 6. Milwaukee, 3 out of 4 and 4 out of 6. I actually forgot about the Bucks. I almost forgot to talk about them. They have 3 games with a weekend, Saturday, Sunday, back-to-back. And the Orlando Magic have 3 games out of 4 with the back-to-back today and tomorrow. Sacramento is your sort of distant play. They have a back-to-back today and tomorrow, and then they're off over the weekend. So you'd have to use another move to get off of the Kings then. Here's a list of the players to target if you like the options today. The Lakers, Jared Vanderbilt is probably the safest play on that team for boards and steals, especially with Jackson Hayes ruled out again. So I took him off of this list. It's why we talked about yesterday. If you're making a move in advance, yeah, I thought he was going to play today. I'm kind of surprised that he's not. But it's why if someone's questionable in a day in advance, you don't do it. Even if someone else gets that player and they have a better ball game, you cannot risk taking a 0. But now we're today. Now we know who's in. Vanderbilt is in. Dalton Knecht is in. He'll get you a bunch of threes. Dorian Finney-Smith is back, so he's a pretty good play for some threes and a couple of steals. Maybe he even does a little bit more with no LeBron around. We'll find out, won't we? Brooklyn, we've talked about 6 times so far this week. Their options are repeats. Day'Ron Sharpe for boards, steals, and blocks. Ziaire Williams if you need some threes, maybe a little bit of defensive stuff. And then Keon Johnson is your play if you would like steals from the Brooklyn Nets. Milwaukee, my only streamer there is Gary Trent Jr. I don't know that anybody else really gets up and over the hurdle if you're talking about the Bucks. Like, I mean, you can look at the Milwaukee's numbers over the last week. Taurean Prince has hit 3 3-pointers a game over that stretch, so maybe he's also an option. I mean, the good thing about Taurean Prince is you know that if he's playing, his minutes are going to be up around 30. You just don't know that he's going to do anything with them. So you can kind of bank on 2 assists. You can bank on his 8 points. You can bank on his almost 1 steal a game. There is a very safe floor with 3 games out of Taurean, and he'll get you 12 rebounds, and he'll get you 9 assists, and he'll get you 2 to 3 steals, and he'll get you probably 6 3-pointers, but there is absolutely no upside there. So perhaps I should have put him on the board. Screw it. We'll do it now. Call it threes. Boards, assists, light. There we go. I don't like it, but it's on there now. Orlando has 2 really good options, but they may already be rostered in your league. Cole Anthony is 1 for points, assists, and free throw percent. Wendell Carter Jr. is the other for rebounds, but those guys have largely been added, which, like Wendell, I don't fully understand that one, but maybe somebody badly needed those rebounds already. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is a steals play and very little else, because he does very little else. And then your distant option is Sacramento, and that's only if you have like 3 moves left right now, and you're definitely looking to blow one today and another move on Saturday. You could pick up Keon Ellis for the back-to-back and then swap out on Saturday for somebody that has the weekend back-to-back, a la the Milwaukee Bucks. I think the Thunder are in there as well. I think they're going weekend back-to-back, if I'm not mistaken. And so that's all floating around. Quick commercial break, and then we'll get you Friday. We welcome you back from the commercial break with a reminder that BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform during March Madness and your number 1 source for betting on all the craziness. It's going to be amazing. NCAA tournament starts, I think, 5 days from now, which is super amazing. It's going to be on like 6 different TV channels. Those first few days of March Madness are so great. I don't even follow college basketball, and it's great because every station has hoops on it. It's bliss. Everywhere you flick, there's a college basketball game. And it's only the teams that are kind of good, which is the real problem in my eyes with college hoops. There's so many bad teams out there. You think the NBA's got some bad teams. BetOnline is the largest selection of odds on everything from March Madness to a $200,000 bracket contest, making them, again, your continued number 1 sports betting source. So let him take you from every Cinderella story to every hat trick, covering you with odd stats and more in every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline. The game starts here. Friday, teams to avoid. There are none. The schedule is pretty heavy, actually, Friday through Monday. There's a total of 36 games over those 4 days. That's pretty good. That's an average of 9 games a day. You don't usually get that over a 4-day span. I mean, it happens. It's not completely impossible. But even when it does happen, it's usually because there's like a 15 blended in there, and it really counterweights any of the low days. This is a 10, an 8, an 8, and a 10. So it's a really just nice, like medium large cards, medium or large, I guess, medium or medium large, all 4 days. So there just isn't anybody that has a bad schedule. The closest thing you get is Portland, who we already talked about because they were off 3 days. They're still off 2 more days tomorrow. I know, difficult math on that one. So it's really nobody new. And the nice part is there are a lot of teams to target on Friday. So, and this is that balancing act where the options on Thursday were not that great. We just talked about them. If you can't get your hands on, Cole Anthony, or if you don't need rebounds and steals, so you don't really want Jared Vanderbilt, like it doesn't leave you. I'll scroll back up again so you can see the names we talked about. If you can't get your hands on the good choices from this board Thursday, which I guess is Vando, Cole Anthony, if you wanted to go, I guess Daron Sharpe is a solid play, but he was largely picked up on Monday for their 5 and 7. It doesn't leave that much else. Like, if you don't need threes, you're not going to pick up Dalton Knecht. Even if he plays 6 games in 8 days, great. What if I don't need 80 points and 15 3-pointers? I might not. I'm just thinking about one of the leagues I'm in right now. I'm straight up punting both of those categories. Player's completely worthless to me. And I know 3 games is better than 2, which is better than 1. And so waiting an extra day means the max you're going to get the rest of this week is 2 games. So if you're thinking about like, oh, Portland still has 1, I'm only getting 1 extra game. Or the Knicks, they have 1, but so I'm only getting 1 extra game. Yeah, it makes it a tougher call, but the options are much deeper. There are 8 teams that have good to great schedules starting on Friday, and here they are, almost in the order that I'd want to use them. Indiana, best schedule on the board starting on Friday, and a team that has solid streaming options starting on Friday because they go 5 times in 7 days. The Lakers still have a 5 and 7 starting on Friday with a 3 and 4. It's just super weird because it's game off, back-to-back, off, back-to-back. But if you made a Lakers play, you already did it. Miami comes back to having a good schedule on Friday. They've got some good streaming options. Minnesota, Philadelphia, Phoenix, and Utah all have a back-to-back Sunday, Monday at the tail end of it. So Friday, Sunday, Monday. And Toronto has Friday, Sunday, Monday, but they don't play on Wednesday of next week where all of those other teams do. You don't care about the teams. You guys want the options for who to play on these teams. So let's do that. And there are many. This is a 2-pager, ladies and gentlemen. We're back into the 2-pagers. We got 8 teams. I can fit 4 or 5 teams on 1 page for these shows. You get up to 8 teams, I got to go 2 pages. Indiana is great, and I did a nice long list of Pacers you can stream. Someone on this list is probably a free agent in your league. TJ McConnell, one of my favorites right now, and oftentimes a free agent. He had a 9-minute game coming back from an ankle injury, but typically, even when the Pacers are healthy, he's going to get 14, 15 minutes. And typically, I know it's not great, but in 14, 15 minutes, I mean, you can look at his season stats because that's basically what you're talking about right there. Or just look at the last month for TJ. 15 minutes a game. He's number 200. But he's doing it on 8 points, 4.5 assists, a steal, on 54% shooting. You give me 5 of those, I will take it. So a positive field goal percent guard who's going to probably give you 40 points, 25 assists, and 5 or more steals over that week. That's useful. Think about if you're comparing to somebody who has 3 games over that stretch. They'd have to average 13 and 8, basically. You ain't finding that on the wire. But he's not the only one. Anybody to get caught up on TJ McConnell. If Andrew Nembhard is floating around, you could pick him up. He's a better source of assists and probably an equal source of steals, more scoring than McConnell. Aaron Nesmith, who's floating around on some wires, is a solid source of both percentages and steals. And Benedict Mathurin, who was out for a long time, great source of points and free throw percent. So lots of really good options on the Pacers. Hopefully some of those guys are free agents in your league. I'm going to skip over the Lakers because we already talked about them for Thursday. It's the same list for Friday. Miami's back on the board. We talked about them on Friday or on Wednesday. That's the day that comes before today, not the day that comes after. Duncan Robinson, great source of 3-pointers. I mean, he's hitting a lot. I'm going to look at what he's doing over the last month, basically. He's hitting 3 a game over the last month. Doesn't do much else, though. Doesn't get steals, doesn't pass, doesn't rebound. It's 3 threes a game. You can get 13 points and 3 threes a game. That's all you're getting. Davion Mitchell, a little bit more up and down, but his minutes have been relatively consistent over the month. He's probably going to get you one or more steals, and he's going to get you 4 to 5 assists per game. He doesn't shoot very much, but his percentages have actually been decent over that stretch. And then Haywood Highsmith, who's the one that I would use only in a pinch. By the way, Khalil Ware probably kind of sliding down into this schedule level play, but he's mostly rostered, so we're not even going to talk about him. Highsmith is the guy you're using if you just want to get like a steal per day. So a little bit more of a reach there. Minnesota, I would say Mike Conley probably makes the list, but I don't know if he plays in the back-to-back, so that makes him kind of a tougher sell, but he's a pretty good source of assists if we know he's playing in the back-to-back. That's a big if. Philly's a fun one right now. Jared Butler is on the list. He's played really well over the last, really, it's just a week at this point. And there might be other names that kind of pop up onto the list with Philly as well. But Butler's a great source of assists right now. So Jared Butler, you can throw on your list. He's not going to give good fantasy numbers because he doesn't shoot the ball well and he doesn't get defensive stats. But, if you want 3 games out of a guy who's going to get you probably 5 or more assists during that stretch, great. He's a safer source than anybody we've talked about so far. Just doesn't do the other stuff. If we find out that Lonnie Walker is back in after doinking his head, he would be a play for scoring and 3-pointers and probably some free throw percent. Andre Drummond is on my list, as is Adem Bona. It's going to depend a little bit on Gershon Yabusele's status. He got ruled out for a sore knee. I don't know if that means he's coming back soon or if he's out for a little bit. So I wouldn't make any moves on the Philly front a day in advance, at least at the big man spot. Maybe you could go Andre Drummond because he's probably going to start if he's healthy regardless. What we don't know about Andre is if he's going to play in back-to-backs. He was ruled out due to an illness in their last back-to-back, but he actually played in the one before that. So I don't think it was just straight rest. I think he might have actually been sick. And if you're going to get mid-20s in minutes out of Drummond the rest of the way, which, screw it, they might just do it because, he's not going to accidentally win him a game. And, he'd like to pile up rebounds. He wants to climb the rebounding all-timers board. I think Drummond could be a really, really intriguing source of boards over this 3 games in 4 days. And typically does get you 1.5 to 2 assists a game, which is bad. But for a center, you can squeeze 4 to 6 assists out of a guy. That's not nothing. What he doesn't do is he doesn't get as many defensive stats as he did when he was younger. I think you could kind of game plan for 0.8 steals and 0.8 blocks, something like that, but nothing huge. And then if Gershon Yabusele's out, Adem Bona is a very intriguing source of blocks. But if Yabusele's back, well, then you could probably go his direction for some points and threes, but it's not really as fun. I think Bona would be more fun. 3 more teams. We can do it in 2 minutes, I believe. Phoenix, Tyus Jones is a source of assists because every time they have a back-to-back, Bradley Beal sits out a game. So even if you get 2 bad ones out of Tyus, 1 good one will probably counterweight that, and you'll end up with numbers not that dissimilar probably from TJ McConnell over those 4 days. But of course, TJ has the extended better schedule. Royce O'Neal is your other play in Phoenix. I would have thrown Grayson Allen on there, but he was hurt, as was Nick Richards. So those guys both got eliminated because we don't know if they're going to be back tomorrow. Royce O'Neal usually will get you some threes, a few rebounds. Sometimes he gets a steal. I'm going to jump over Toronto because I want them to be the last team we talk about. Let's talk about Utah for a second. With a back-to-back in there, you know that Walker Kessler is going to get at least 1 day off, so Kyle Filipowski makes sense as a 3-game stream. Bryce Sensabaugh probably also as a 3-game stream, but mostly just for points. Filipowski can do a few more things, which is kind of nice. You want to get a collection of items. Even when you're streaming for specific categories, it's good to try to get more than one. Now, Toronto is an interesting one. Talked about the Raptors for a long time on our show earlier today, and I'll admit, none of us really knows exactly what the Raptors are going to look like moment to moment. Because right now they're resting Barnes, Barrett, Quickly, and Pirtle basically every other day, but they're staggering it. So not all of them are on the same day. Some are on the same day. Like they had all of their scorers out for the last ball game, but then it was Pirtle the one before that. So I don't really know. Like, did they just fall on opposite schedules and they just left it that way? I don't know. What we've seen, however, is over this stretch where Toronto's alternating rest days for their main guys is A.J. Lawson is hitting a ton of 3-pointers and scoring a bunch of points. Orlando Robinson is a pretty safe source of rebounds right now. Colin Castleton has been a pretty good source of blocks over this stretch. And by the way, pretty good passer when they just drop him into the Jakob Poeltl high post offense thing. Castleton's an intriguing, boards, assists, blocks guy. And then Jared Rhoden, who came out of nowhere to score a ton of points, but he'd be the one that I'd be slightly less likely to deploy. The nice thing about Toronto, as I try to get this done in 20 minutes and fail, is that these guys have a lot of opportunity right now. Even when the main guys are in, Lawson's still playing 28, 9, 29, 30 minutes because they're not playing the main guys a full 30, 33, 34, whatever. They're playing Pirtle 18 minutes. They're playing Barnes and Quickly and Barrett 27 minutes. So there's these extra 20 some odd, 30 some odd, whatever minutes that are floating around every day. And these guys who are already playing in reserve minutes are bumping up over that hurdle. some of these dudes are getting close to being startable in games cap format. So for streaming, this is the argument to be made to maybe wait on using a move on Thursday and do it on Friday, because if we find out that a bunch of guys are out for Toronto on Friday, that could be really interesting. The bad news with Toronto is after Monday, their schedule sucks. They play one game over 5 days before the schedule picks back up again, and they end up with like 8 games over 14 days or something like that after it. But their schedule is really only good through Monday. After that, you're not going to want him. You're going to want to pivot off of Toronto on Tuesday of next week to turn a 2-game rest of week into a 4-game rest of week. If you can find one. Yeah, there's one. I think the Cavaliers are that team. So if you're doing the Toronto thing, you're going to want to do it on Friday. Because if you do it on Sunday, you're only holding for 2 days. And you know how I feel about 2-day streams. Okay, everybody. I want to tell you guys very quickly about our friends over at UnderdogFantasy.com. I lost my train of thought while I was moving my face around on the YouTube screen. Before we tell you about that, please remember to hit that subscribe button. That's actually the most important thing you can do right now. And then go visit our friends at UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up today using promo code OLDMAN, OLDMAN, or just click the link in the show description. It's so simple. It's so easy. That unlocks for you 2 bonuses. One of them, up to $1,000 in deposit match bonus cash. There it is on your screen. The other one, a free square. That one doesn't show on your screen, but what that does is when you normally have to pick 2 names for your pick'em card to 3 times your entry fee, if you use the free square promo, you only have to pick 1. The free square turns the second one basically into a guaranteed win. You just drop a player in and all they have to do is score 1 point and you're off to your races. It's a lot of fun. You guys have watched us play together. I haven't done it as much over the last couple of days because I've been so hell-bent on trying to finish off my semifinal week and see if I can steal 2 wins while one of my teams is dealing with like 5 different guys getting alternating rest days. Heaven help me. I'm up barely. I'm up in that one. The other one's going much better. So what might happen is we get back to doing more Underdog stuff live after the finals week for me. But, if something jumps out, I'll try to put it out on social media as well. UnderdogFantasy.com. It's your call. Again, that promo code is OldMan. I am Dan Besbris. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Please drop a 5-star review if you're listening after the fact. At Dan Besbris on Twitter, Old Man Squad on Blue Sky. This is your Hebrew National bidding you adieu for the day. Tomorrow is Friday. We'll have our morning recap show. We'll have a streaming show. And then Adam King and I are going to be recording a mailbag show on Friday afternoon that will drop on Saturday morning. So stay tuned to the tweeters, if you want to get your questions in on that. We're going to mostly be focusing on playoff strategy and difficult ad drop decisions related to kind of higher profile names. That was a big one that we did a couple weeks ago, and I know it's kind of hanging over you guys as well. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you tomorrow.